She's on the verge of losing 2 consecutive presidential races in part because of her vote in the war in Iraq. She lost the primary to Barack Obama in 2008, where he pounded her about the war in Iraq vote mercilessly. And now you've got Donald Trump being able to take the superior position to her on this.
Yep, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump going head-to-head in the military forum, and of course Kellyanne Conway clashing on national security and foreign policy. So who made the best case to become commander-in-chief? Here to react is our prestigious panel. Former U.S. Army intelligence officer Andrew Peek is here. Former U.S. Army helicopter pilot Amber Smith playing the middle seat. And former U.S. Navy SEAL and Donald Trump surrogate Carl Higbee. Amber, first off, who did better?
Well, I definitely think Donald Trump was a little stronger when it came to it. Hillary Clinton came off as very defensive. She got a lot of questions with her email and how she handled classified information. So I thought she was a little bit having to play catch up with that. Donald Trump seemed to be a little bit stronger, but if this was a preview of what the debates are going to be like, I hope they're both going to answer all the questions with a little bit more substance in the future.
And Andrew, let's talk about Iraq in particular. It turns out Hillary Clinton apologized again for a vote in Iraq rather than defending what she knew on the Armed Services Committee and what she knew as First Lady as co-president.
Right, she's responding to her base. You know, Hillary Clinton never really recovered with the progressive base for voting for the Iraq war, even if on the face of the intelligence it made sense to go in 2003.
And instead of saying that, she says, I blew it. I made a mistake. That's what Kellyanne Conway's saying, correct?
Yeah, she is saying that. And the fact is that Hillary Clinton's never been on the right side of a foreign policy dispute. She has jumped headfirst into every single dispute she could possibly get her hands on, you know, whether for Libya, in Iraq, and she's always come out on the wrong side. So every single time she's been on the wrong side. How many more times can we afford these mistakes?
She said that she was for going into and hitting in Afghanistan, in Syria, like Bob Gates was, but Barack Obama didn't listen to her. I want you to hear what they talked about when it came to generals. Donald Trump was asked, do you really know more than the generals when it comes to ISIS? Here's his explanation.
So let me read some of the things you said. I know more about ISIS than the generals do. Believe me. Was that the truth?
Well, the generals under Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton have not been successful.
Do you know more about ISIS than they do?
I think under the leadership of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, the generals have been reduced to rubble. They have been reduced to a point where it's embarrassing for our country. You have a force of 30,000 or so people. Nobody really knows, but probably 30,000 people. And I can just see the great, as an example, General George Patton spinning in his grave as ISIS we can't beat.
A lot of generals lost their jobs because they spoke out against the administration. What do you think, Amber?
I think that I understood what he was trying to say, that generals under the Obama administration have almost been brought down to this neutral point where they're not allowed to have a voice. When they make recommendations for the war, when they are telling the truth about ISIS and what we need to do in terms of strategy to win that war, it becomes political because it goes to the Secretary of Defense and then President Obama, and that doesn't fit with their agenda.
You know, General Jones resigned because he wasn't being listened to from the administration. You have General Conway was upset about the Afghanistan policy. He was basically told to go retire. Andrew?
Yeah, I don't know when the military judgment of generals became such a sacrosanct issue for the left. You know, I remember back in 2007 when Code Pink ran a full-page ad in the New York Times saying General Petraeus, when General Petraeus came to the Hill to testify that the surge was working, and Hillary Clinton said nothing, and in fact accused Petraeus of lying to the U.S.
You have to suspend disbelief to think the surge is working. You did some adding and subtracting about the generals.
Right. Well, here's the big thing to take away from this debate, the evolution of Donald Trump into the presidential candidate. Prior to that, he said, yes, I know more than the generals. Look, they can beat him over the head with that all he wants, but after these security briefings, he went in there and the one thing he took away was like, wow, our generals actually somewhat do know what they're talking about. Obama's not listening to them. And I think at Donald Trump presidency, he goes, hey, 30 days, give me a plan. Donald Trump has a succinct goal. Let's accomplish that plan.
140 generals are no longer there over the last 7.5 years. Some retired.
Yeah. And many of the ones that are left there are the ones who kept their tail between their legs and didn't say anything when they should have.
Andrew, from what you know, when you get a security briefing, do you tell people, do you give people an opinion when you're briefing a presidential candidate, or do you just tell them the facts as they are? Because Donald Trump seems to think he was reading body language. They weren't happy with Barack Obama's decisions.
Yeah, I mean, technically, as an intelligence officer, you're not supposed to recommend policy, even at the highest levels. However, humans being what they are, if you are briefing the senior policymakers in the nation with the most classified secrets, you will have an opinion about the direction the United States is taking.
And Amber, finally, can I ask you about the sexual assault question? Are you glad that was included?
No, I'm
Within
not.
the military.
That was a tweet that was brought up over 3 years ago, and I think when you see what Donald Trump was saying, that the ratio isn't correct. When you have 26,000 people bringing up some claims of sexual assault or sexual harassment, he was saying, look, the ratio isn't the same. If less than 300 people have been prosecuted, those numbers don't add up. So that's what, once again, I think people are misinterpreting what he's saying. I feel like I got what he was saying, but I guess it brought the conversation up again in terms of how to combat it.
It was just amazing in a wide open forum how Matt Lauer had those sexual assault stats handy when I don't think even our brain room would have gotten them that quick. It seemed kind of a setup.
They're going to need a stronger moderator for the debate.
Carl, Amber, Andrew, thanks so much.
Thanks.